So given whatever we have discussed so far, let's take a look at some of the definitions. So a single node in Cassandra is called as a node or an instance. A logical grouping of nodes. How are they getting logically grouped? Cassandra-rackdc.properties file, where we specify the rack and DC, that is logically grouping them together. That's called as a rack. A bunch of racks put together is a data center. And a bunch of data centers put together is called as a cluster in Cassandra. The cluster name is something that you get to specify in Cassandra YAML. So let me show you that. Bring that in focus. If I go all the way till the top, you can see cluster name. So it doesn't matter what region, what country your node is. If the nodes were to be part of the same cluster, the cluster name must be exactly the same. And here is a little bit of Java code. If you are not from Java background, that's okay. Look at that. Cassandra nodes to initialize. Remember when the driver initializes, I had given an indication that, hey, you can specify one IP address, but it's actually a list. Same as the case with seeds. If that node which you are connecting with is down, you obviously can't bootstrap. So if you specify only a single node in this list, and if that node is down, your Cassandra application can never initialize. So here it says, okay, if this node is down, no worries. I'm going to go and try with this node and see if I can initialize myself. Who am I? Application, the driver in the application. And this defines the locality. For example, you would want to pick the IP address of the nodes that's local to you. For example, this server, if it's initializing, why will I want to specify the IP address in the other region? I wouldn't. I would want to specify the IP addresses here. Same thing is the case with this server. And this is exactly how you get to specify. With load balancing policy round robin, you can specify DC aware round robin as well. So you could build clusters that look like this. You can have multiple rings, and you do know this is only for human understanding. Cassandra supports only one ring. Doesn't matter. Your application could be, or your cluster could be across the planet in 5 different countries, still one cluster. Full stop. So you can build something like this. And there are a couple of other very interesting aspects, right, that you need to keep in mind is SEDA. Now, what has happened is progressively Cassandra has moved away from SEDA. So what has happened is with SEDA, you had to do a lot of context switches, right? As in, there is a thread pool for each one of these activities, reads, writes, gossip, etc. And in reads and writes as well, the overall process of writing the data on the disk, process of reading data on the disk is again divided into, smaller units of work. And you could throw that to different threads. That caused a lot of context switching, etc. So this is good to know. It doesn't impact really one way or the other to, help you get better at Cassandra from modeling or from administration perspective, right? But just keep this in mind that Cassandra has gradually moved away from SEDA. This say in Cassandra SQL, Cassandra query language, by the way, is actually a binary protocol. I really don't think SQL is a binary protocol. Protocol is TCP. SQL binary is more of a payload. And this is again good to know, right? That doesn't really make any impact, to the way you are going to look at how Cassandra functions internally. But it's good to know that, okay, that's fine. There is something called as Cassandra query language, which allows you to bundle up the data in a specific way. And then you can throw that among different nodes. And finally, right, it's very important to understand that given the fact that Cassandra uses timestamp And one such example you saw was in gossip, right? One gossip information can be overridden by the other based on the timestamp that it has. It's therefore very important to have a global uniform time across all the nodes in my Cassandra cluster. And do take note that my nodes can be sprinkled across multiple countries. So how do you ensure that my timestamp is unique across all of them? Network time protocol. Obviously on the cloud, network time protocol will pretty much come out of the box. You really don't have to do anything about it. But if you have an on-prem implementation, you need to make sure that you have NTP enabled. Otherwise, Cassandra is going to struggle.